Hello guys, good morning. So welcome to the demo session 3. Today also, I thought I'll explain few more attacks, just to understand, how we are going to continue the uh, learning in the upcoming sessions. From tomorrow onwards, we'll start the actual sessions, guys. I'll start with explaining you how to set up the lab. I'll understand your background, where you're coming from, what exactly you're expecting, what kind of skills that you're already having it, accordingly. We'll go through the syllabus and we'll complete the, topic by topic, sessions, starting from very basics like installation of the lab, learning about the Linux basics, okay, networking basics, then penetration testing methodology. Let's go and apply that methodology on the network, manually like an attacker, and then using corporate tools, like an ethical hacker, and then application penetration testing. Right? This is how we are going to learn this entire sessions, guys. Right? So today I'll explain you about few application related attacks, guys. Okay. So one of the very famous attack, I think you might be already heard about it. It's one of the very famous attack, part of the injections. I mean, see, I'll tell you. So injections happens if the input is not properly validated. There are places where the application will also expect the user input, correct? Like maybe in the search bar, comment bar, registration page, or profile page, right? So if the user injected input is not properly validated, if it is considered as a trusted data, what happens is attackers will try to inject the malicious payloads in it. Okay, when I say payload, it could be, let's say, malicious SQL injections. Okay, malicious SQL query, then that becomes that might leads to SQL injection attack. If someone is injecting the HTML, okay, malicious HTML, it can leads to HTML injection, or malicious JavaScript. Okay, it can leads to cross-site scripting, right? So there are various types of injection attacks are there. It happens because of not proper handling the user input, which is coming to the application. So as a part of that, today I thought of covering a very famous attack, which is part of the injections, is cross-site scripting. Okay, so what is this cross-site scripting? So cross-site scripting is basically a client-side attack, which means this attack can be exploited on the victim's user browser. Okay, let's say you are my target. So I'll be able to exploit this vulnerability on your browser through the vulnerable web application. Okay, so in cross-site scripting, what happens is, as I said, attacker will inject the malicious JavaScript into the web application. If it is not properly, validating it, it will get executed into the victim's browser. Okay, so that malicious script can maybe help the attacker to steal the user data, session related information, or he may also perform some of the other actions like redirecting him from the one website to another website, or defacing the entire website, or maybe recording the keystrokes of the user. These kind of things he can do it, right? So there are some key points that you need to understand, guys. Okay, XSS occurs when a web application includes the user input in the output without proper validations or escaping, which means you have to go to an application, okay, where it takes the user input, let's say in the comment box, right? You give some input and check your given input is in the response without any validations or escaping, right? If you identify such type of parameters where your input is basically reflecting back to you either in the form of directly in the URL or either in the form of somewhere it is stored, right? That's the place where you have to try for the cross-site scripting attack, and it can lead to very serious security issues, right? It could be like attacker can steal the user's credentials or user's session IDs. Okay, they can redirect the user. Like as I said, they can also deface the entire web application, guys. Okay, let's understand this attack with a scenario, right? For an example, you have a website which will be executed in the victim's browser, and that will send you you know the victims maybe post request which has some kind of a sensitive information or session cookies, keyloggers, or it might redirect them to my website. All of the things can be possible, guys, if an application is vulnerable for the what cross-site scripting attack. Got it? Is it clear? Is the attack scenario as clear to you? Yeah, guys. Can I explain it one more time, or is it clear to you?
Can you repeat again? Hi.
Can you explain me one more time, sorry, please?
Okay. See, uh, here our target is victims, right? Let's say I need to steal your, maybe I need to maybe redirect you to the different website, or I need to maybe deface the website that you visit frequently, or maybe I need to steal your session IDs, right? So you are my target, but instead of maybe directly I'm coming and attacking to you. Okay, uh, I will first go to a website which you visit most frequently. Okay, it could be any website, guys, that you use it in your regular day to day, right? So as an attacker, I'll go to that website and I'll spend my some time and I'll try to identify the cross-site scripting vulnerability in it, and I'll inject the payload, which is malicious JavaScript, in that website. Okay, that you will be not knowing it, right? You will be visiting that website as it is like a normal user. You will think that okay, it's a legitimate website only that I will visit every day. You will be not knowing that there is a malicious payload injected in it, right? Maybe if the website is redirecting you to the some other website or some other subdomain which looks very similar to you, similar to it, you will think that okay, this guy is only maybe redirecting me to the website. I'll go and do the payment, or maybe I'll go and put some sensitive information in it, right? But that sensitive information goes to the attacker. That's how the cross-site scripting attack is going to be successful, right? Instead of I am directly attacking, I'll first find the vulnerable website through which I'll be, sending this link or to the victim. Whenever the victim clicks and interacts with it, okay, I'll be able to grab the sensitive information from the victim. Got it? Maybe if you see some practicals, you will understand it, guys. Can I show you some practicals?
Yes.
Yeah, Sai, sure.
Okay, fine. So, of course, there are three different types of cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, which we have. One is called as a reflected. Okay, sorry, this is stored, and then we have reflected, and then we have DOM. Okay, so how do we first find it? Okay, then how do we decide which is reflected, which is stored, and which is DOM, right? So what happens is you can go to any target application. Okay, for an example, I am going to a website called as a demo.testfire.net. Okay, demo.testfire.net. So here I need to find the cross-site scripting vulnerability, right? So for that, I need to find a parameter which takes my user input and which reflects back to me. Correct? That's what we have learned it in the first slide, right? Cross-site scripting occurs when an application includes the user input in the output without proper validation, right? So you can see here, I have a search bar, okay, which takes the user input. I am putting some unique input over here, and let's send it to the server and see whether it is reflecting or not, right? It is reflecting. So this is a place where you can try for the cross-site scripting, right? So developer might be thinking that users will only uh, enter their search queries in the search box, right? But like in attackers, if in case if someone is putting this malicious JavaScript over here, okay, I'm using very basic sample payload, which is called as a start with the script tag, and then in between I'm writing alert and closing the script tag. Very basic payload, guys, to confirm my injected data is not properly sanitized, and it is just sending it to me as a part of a response without any escaping or validations, right? Enter. You can see it got executed. I can see that alert 1 is got popped up. I mean, instead of maybe alert 1, I can also write anything over here. I mean, I can also alert anything, right? Maybe like I can say um, vulnerable for XSS. See, vulnerable for the XSS, right? So here, whatever the script that you are going to write it's going to execute, guys. For an example, maybe I can say, give me the user's cookies. Okay, like document dot cookie. I think there is a spelling mistake, or I have to see. I got the cookies of the user. I mean, this is just to show the developer that okay, this particular website is vulnerable for the cross-site scripting, right? For us as a tester, we inject such type of a basic payloads to see it is vulnerable or not. But for an attackers, okay, how they exploit this vulnerability? Now let's say this is a website that you're going to visit very frequently. Let's say banking application or some kind of a social networking application. They already inject such type of a scripts to you, and they will simply copy this link and they will send it to you via email or some other communication medium, right? So now can someone click on it and see whether this payload is got executed to you or not? Can anyone confirm me whether you got the pop-up with the cookie or not? Just click on that link which I just submitted in the chat and confirm me. Yeah, guys. I'm waiting for your confirmation, guys. I mean, nothing happens, guys. If you think, it might, inject something, or maybe it might harm your system. No, it's not going to harm your system. It's just part of a demo, right? See, I'm clicking on it. I don't know why you guys are not, opening it. See, as soon as I clicks on it, the payload got executed. This is what happens when someone opens the link, right? So now here, attacker writes his own uh, payload, okay, for maybe redirecting the user to the different website, or defacing this complete website with his own, what I can say, maybe with his own, let's say login page or some sort of a form. Whatever the details we enter in it, it goes to the attacker. But when you look into the URL, okay, it is same. Okay, it's legitimate one, correct? But because of XSS, this kind of attacks are possible, because we look into the domain, we trust it, okay, saying that it is um, genuine website. We ended up putting our all information in it, right? It's a very high severity issue if in case, if any website has such type of a vulnerability, right? Attackers can misuse it like this. I'll show you one example, like as an attacker, how they can maybe perform some kind of a malicious actions, right? Let's say if I wants to redirect the user to a different website, okay, I can simply use this payload, right? Instead of this payload, I can put this payload. What this payload is doing is, it's basically redirecting any user who clicks on this link to the evil.com. You can see it is redirected. Maybe I, instead of evil, I can also create a very similar replica of a cloned website, okay, of a target which looks like the same. Even I can also purchase, like as an attacker, right? He can also purchase a very similar kind of a domain, and then he will send such type of a links to the genuine users who access it. So as soon as they clicks on it, it will redirect them to a different website, right? Not only redirection, as I said, they can also steal the cookies. Okay, here you just need to put the attacker IP address, and then you know uh, I'll show you this also, right? Let's try this on Mozilla browser, because Chrome has a security auditor enabled. It will not allow this kind of payloads to be executed. So let's say we are going here in the demo.test file. Okay, uh, let's disable the burp. Okay, so it is sending the cookies. I mean, this payload, right? If you use this payload, it's going to send the cookies, I mean user cookies, okay, to the attacker. So attacker has to be in the listening mode. Okay, he should capture those cookies, guys, right? So for that, I am using my Kali Linux operating system. So in my Kali, what I will do, I will start a listener. Okay, like it's like an attacker machine now, right? So I'll take the Linux IP address and I'll replace it over here in this payload. Okay, so what it is going to do is it's basically going to create a new image, and for that image, it's going to add a source of this Linux operating system IP address or attacker's IP address, and it's going to call the document.cookies. Okay, so let's try this and see whether we are going to get the cookies or not. So cookies will will have the sensitive information like session IDs, guys. If the session ID goes to wrong hands, attackers can use that session IDs to access someone else session, okay, without having valid credentials. So it can also lead to the session hijacking. Okay, so it took some time for me to start. So let's say that this is the attacker system now, right? So I want to steal, the victim's session ID by exploiting the cross-site scripting attack, right? So for that, I have already a payload. I'll just find out what is the IP address of the Kali Linux operating system, copy, and a replace here, right? Okay. Now before I go and inject this payload and deliver it to the victim, let's start a listener. Okay, let's start a listener using a tool called as a utility called as a netcat. Netcat hyphen LVP listening verbose port number 80. So it's listening on port 80 now. Okay, let's say if this script is, let's say, injected in a comment box where the users are going to read the comments. Okay, so as soon as they read the comments or as soon as they opens the payload, okay, wherever it is you know injected, it is going to execute and it's going to give the okay, enter. No, it is not getting executed. Maybe let's try here. So don't worry, how do we write these payloads and all? I mean, these payloads are just to show you the demo, but in the real time, we use the very basic payloads like what I've shown you earlier. where I'm trying this in Mozilla only now. Okay. Uh, no. Okay, it is not getting executed. Image, new source, document dot cookies. It should work. Okay. It seems to be executed, but it is not sending the cookies to the attacker. Okay, it is HTTPS. Sorry. Uh, so it is 44. It is SMBR. Okay. Yeah, we got it here this time. But it's all encrypted, right? This is all encrypted, guys. We got some details, but it's all encrypted, right? Let's say the attacker is using maybe I mean, uh, targeting, let's say, a HTTP website. Okay, HTTP colon slash slash, let's say, testphp.vulnerable.com. Let's say after logging into the application, the session ID will be created. And let's say if he's putting the payload over here, and let's say he started listening on the port number 80. And now let's go and maybe try this. No. Let's put this in the search bar. Yes, you can see we got everything is in the clear text, including the cookie, which is there in the user's browser. Okay, if I go to inspect, um, you can see here we have the cookie value, right? The same cookie value is basically stolen by the attacker by injecting the or by exploiting the cross-site scripting attack. Right. I mean, it might feels you guys very new, but don't worry. I just wanted to maybe show you like you know how we are going to learn the things in a very practical way. Okay, that's what my intention is, not to maybe feels you. I mean, not to make you feel that it is so difficult kind of a thing. Okay, so everything we are going to learn it step by step. I have the checklist with me, so we'll be following the checklist, and I'll also be giving you the running notes. Okay, along with the slides and materials. Okay, which are very much helpful for you. Right. For an example, if you wants to see the running notes, right? So the running notes will look like this. Okay, with screenshots. Okay, with the clear explanation, right? You can also create your own running notes like this, or you can follow this, right? And you will be also provided with all the slides, everyday slides. So yeah, that's how we are going to learn it, guys. So I'll just maybe stop here for today, right? With only one attack. Um, So from tomorrow we'll start with the actual sessions, guys. Right? So we'll I mean, when I say tomorrow, that is on Monday. We'll do the lab installation, lab setup. From there, I'll start the topics, guys. Okay, we'll learn about basics of Linux operating system, networking topics, then VA and PT different, and some of the like prerequisites, right? What I said, maybe the basic terminologies, and then essentials like security essentials, before we get started. Okay, so likewise, we'll start the topics, guys. Right? Yep. So I'll stop here for today. If you have any questions, I'll take it, guys. Right? I mean, if you understand that attack, right, whatever we have discussed today, right? So this is happening because the server is uh, you know, taking the malicious JavaScript, and it is just outputting in the response without escaping the bad characters. Like, because of that, the browser is executing that payload, and the cross-site scripting attack is happening on the uh, browser. So for that, okay, we have already seen the practical, right? Whatever the payload that we inject, it is getting executed directly, right? For that, what the developers has to do it is developers has to implement something called as a output encoding. Whenever they see these bad characters, right? Let's say, when you're writing a script tag, which means that there is a less than and greater than. Okay, when you're writing an alert tag, there is an open parenthesis and a close parenthesis, right? Because of this kind of a characters, okay, which are not being properly escaped in the output, the browser is executing the payload as it is. So that you need to tell the developers to, you know, implement the proper output encoding. Okay, what happens is it'll escape those characters. It'll just maybe instead of less than, use and lt and gt kind of things which things which browser didn't understand. Okay, which is called as html output encoding, and the payloads will not get executed, right? So first doing the proper input validations, then implementing the output encoding, okay, and using the secure libraries to um, you know uh, implement the defensive mechanism, okay, for preventing the uh, cross-site scripting. And there are some of the security headers like content security policy, okay, and then you can also use HTTP only cookie attribute, to true, so that even if someone is injecting the scripts in the web application, it won't, you know, it won't share those cookies, okay, which has HTTP only true. And then the another security header called as a X-XSS protection also can be used, right? I mean, you are going to learn the defensive mechanisms also step by step, okay. But yeah, this is like high level, guys. I'm just explaining to you. Yeah, guys. Any questions, guys?
No questions, I. No questions.